On this week's news, Williams is preparing for a major upgrade, while the FIA is set to hold talks with the teams on porpoising. You can now watch full 24-minute episodes of The Inside Line at our official home on unbeaten.com. Williams is set for a major upgrade to the FW44, one it says will make it look visibly different to the largely unchanged current car. The historic British team is currently 10th and last in the standings on just 3 points after Canada, with Aston Martin's Barcelona upgrade helping it blast ahead with points in Monaco, Baku and Canada. Williams' new package has been committed in the wind tunnel and now just has to be manufactured, with its introduction coming in the next few races that will transform its look and fortunes. We're committed to a concept that will be slightly different, visibly different to what you can see now, said Dave Robson, Williams' head of vehicle performance. F1 is set to control the porpoising that has dominated talk across the first 9 races, with the sport's governing body, the FIA, confirming it will step in to ensure the health and safety of the drivers. The decision has been taken in consultation with its doctors after drivers from a number of F1 teams, not just Mercedes, complained of pain, with suggestions of long-term health effects. In a sport where the competitors are routinely driving at speeds in excess of 300 kilometers per hour, it is considered that all of a driver's concentration needs to be focused on that task, said the FIA statement. The FIA focused on data gathering in Montreal in assessing design and wear of the planks and skids, with the next step developing a new metric for an acceptable level of vertical oscillations or porpoising. Max Verstappen earned Red Bull's 6th straight win for 2022 in Montreal on Sunday, the brand's best hot streak since 2013, when Sebastian Vettel stormed to the last 9 consecutive. But the squad took another win earlier in the weekend, when Red Bull brought the ponies to the Zambonis. With Sergio Perez and AlphaTauri's Yuki Tsunoda facing off against top Canadians, Olympic snowboarding champion Sébastien Touton and ice hockey legend Piquet Subban. Checo proved quickest around Montreal's Olympic Stadium and lifted the Ice Cup for his Zamboni skills, though he later retired from the Canadian Grand Prix with a gearbox issue.
It's fairly different, especially with the wheel. You have to turn it. But it's quite fast. If you turn and with a lot of wheel and a lot of throttle, you can lift the wheels a bit. So, and also the visuals, you don't really know where you are because it's pretty high, so you always have to take a reference on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, but you cannot have reference from both.
It's like a karting, I would say. There's no gears, so, you can just focus on driving, I would say. Have to also linear is important for the driving line because pretty much everywhere is flat out.
Last week was one for the Big M's, with Montreal hosting the Canadian Grand Prix and Melbourne announcing a long-term 10-year extension of its race hosting deal until at least 2035. This year's Australian Grand Prix saw a record crowd of 419,000 people across the 4 days, on the back of spiking local interest for events. And with global competition to host a race heating up, the organizers and local state government moved quickly to lock the race down.
The race is here to stay. It has been a Melbourne icon since 1996. And the fact that it'll be here till at least 2035 is something that all motor racing fans, all major event fans, and hopefully all Victorians can be very, very excited about.
The extension comes on the back of huge local investment in Albert Park, comprising approximately $14 million in track changes and a full resurfacing ahead of this year's race. As part of the extended deal, Australia will host a minimum of 5 season openers, including 2024 and 2025, with Melbourne guaranteed to be one of the first 3 across the 13-year term. Albert Park will also see the high-profile addition of official feeder series F2 and F3 to its lineup for the first time from next year, in addition to the popular local touring car category supercars. And the organisers are confident it will inspire young minds.
We see this as the breeding ground, along with karting in Australia, for the next generation of Aussie racers.
Multiple Grand Prix winner Thierry Boutsen says the Belgian Grand Prix, his home race, is one of 2 critical events along with Monaco that must stay on the F1 calendar no matter what. This year's race at Spa-Francorchamps is the last on its current deal, and rumours are rife the sport could turn its back on the historic event, with F1 said to be unhappy with its limited access and crowd capacity. But Belgian Boutsen says that would be a mistake.
It's the most beautiful racetrack in the world by far, and everybody says that. So why would Formula One not race on the, let's say, on this legend of Monaco, in the most beautiful track? Is it just for a question of money? I find it very sad if it doesn't happen.
F1 may have revved up its return to South Africa, with plans for the sport to run at former host Kyalami near Johannesburg as early as next year. F1 last went to Kyalami in 1993, with Alain Prost winning for Williams en route to his 4th crown, though the circuit will need to be upgraded to reach FIA Grade 1 status. It's understood that F1 CEO and President Stefano Domenicali visited South Africa after Azerbaijan in a bid to accelerate talks, with Africa and Asia the sport's focus in the short to medium term. F1 last visited South Africa in 2019, when Red Bull put on a Cape Town show run, which impressed former driver David Coulthard.
I've been really blown away by the level of the fan base for the automobile and for motorsport in general here in South Africa. And I know of the rich history with previous world champions and previous Grand Prix championship races in South Africa, but I hadn't appreciated just the level of enthusiasm, because it's been some time since there's been a Grand Prix here in the country.
2-time F1 world champion Brazilian Emerson Fittipaldi has called on his home nation to up its investment in go-karting, so more talent makes it to the pinnacle of motorsport. Brazil hasn't had a driver on the grid since Felipe Massa in 2017, despite the nation's glittering history in the sport, with iconic world champions like Ayrton Senna and Nelson Piquet. But Fittipaldi, in a chat with Australian Grand Prix podcast In the Fast Lane, says it's just a question of upping financial support.
It's very similar problem to any country that loves motor race. They need to invest, they need to give opportunities for the young talents from karting. I always say karting is the root of racing. And it's difficult to get support to race karting.
Mercedes has revealed Sir Lewis Hamilton's cold seat in Azerbaijan was down to the numbness he felt in his back due to extreme bouncing, with the W13's floor consistently hitting the deck. The Silver Arrows are yet to win a race in 2022, with the squad yet to get on top of its car, with both drivers suffering physical pain from race-long bouncing, which the cameras caught in Baku and Canada.
What happened is nothing really had changed in the car. It just looks like after the amount of pummeling his back had taken from the bouncing, he fundamentally had a numbness that set in, and it looks like the cold was a response to that. So there wasn't anything colder in the car, it's just a response to the amount of endurance and pain he'd been through in the race.
Mercedes believes progress has been made, but that its performance will be circuit dependent, with tarmac smoothness and layout major factors.
You will see performance variation track on track as we go forward. Canada for sure will be very different to Silverstone in terms of how our car performs.
Thanks for watching. To stay up to speed on all things Formula One, make sure you hit the subscribe button.